Hi, I'm Dr. Angele Besner. I'm a naturopathic physician, and I'm here with Health Here, Health There to talk about stress and how it might be sabotaging your weight loss efforts. We've been hearing a lot about stress in the last decade, and it's a bit of a buzzword, and we understand that it harms our health, but really, what does that mean? Do people really understand what stress is? I'm sure we all understand perfectly well what it feels like to have stress in our life. We've all experienced stressful events to some degree. But how is it that these moments of sleeplessness, of worry, of feeling like we're burnt out translate into poor health, and more specifically, how does it affect our weight? And the obvious answer is that when we're stressed out, we tend to reach for food, and we tend to reach for the wrong foods, and our desire to make good food choices kind of goes out the window. Now, is there a way to prevent that? Is there a way to change that and take control of that behavior? And the answer is yes. There's definitely strategies that will help us control our stress and mitigate the body's stress response. But first, I think it's important to understand exactly what's going on in our bodies. It helps us become more attuned to the subtle clues that our body is giving us to let us know that things aren't quite right. And whenever we're attuned to those clues, we can then implement the tools that we've learned to better manage our stress. Sit back, we're going to have a bit of a history and a physiology lesson here. Way back when we evolved, all of our physiological process came about in response to the environment that we had back then, and that was thousands and thousands of years ago. So our stress response was shaped by the stresses that our environment held for us. Those stresses were primarily physical in nature, survival related, chasing down prey, running away from predators, braving the elements. Our stress response was such that it prepared our physical bodies to spring into action, the fight or flight response. Now, we lived that way for a very long time. That was our reality, and that was fine. And then civilization happened, and industrialization happened, and urbanization happened, and in evolutionary times, all that happened in the blink of an eye, and our physiology really hasn't had the time to adapt to our new environment. And our new environment is very different. The stresses we face today are mostly financial or career, school, family. They're psychological and emotional in nature and a lot less physical in nature. The thing is that stress is stress. The brain doesn't make a differentiation between physical stress and psychological stress, and the response that happens in the body is the exact same. Another difference is that thousands of years ago, our physical stresses were intense but short-lived, and there was lots of time in between them that allowed us to relax and recover and recuperate and go back to normal. Whereas today, our psychological, emotional stresses are with us almost all of the time to some degree, meaning that our stress response never really has a chance to turn off. We never go into that state of relaxation, or we spend a lot less time in it. And as it turns out, that chronically elevated level of stress is harmful to our bodies. And here's why. When the brain perceives stress, it calls on the adrenal glands to help it. All you need to know about the adrenal glands is that they secrete hormones like epinephrine and cortisol. And it's these hormones that carry out the stress response, our body's coping mechanisms. Now let's just focus on cortisol. Whenever cortisol goes up, blood sugar goes up, right? Because your muscles are going to need a lot of sugar to spring into action, to run away from whatever predator's chasing you, or to hunt down some prey. But today's reality is that whenever your cortisol goes up and your blood sugar goes up, you're probably just sitting at your desk. The other thing that happens whenever blood sugar goes up is that insulin goes up. Insulin is a hormone that's needed to take the sugar out of your blood and drive it into your cells, where your cells can turn it into fuel. More often than not, however, when insulin goes up, it goes up too fast, it takes too much sugar out of the blood, and you have a blood sugar crash. And we all know what blood sugar crashes feel like. You feel hungry, you feel irritable, you crave sweets and carbohydrates, headaches, fatigue, anxiety. And all of that is, in effect, a state of stress. So guess what? Cortisol goes up, blood sugar goes up, insulin goes up, blood sugar crashes. The other thing that happens whenever we feel those things, especially mid-afternoon, is that we tend to reach for caffeine. Well, guess what caffeine does? Caffeine raises cortisol, which raises blood sugar, which raises insulin, which causes blood sugar to crash. So you see what's happening is we get stuck on this roller coaster. It's going up and down. Some of you might be feeling that rings very true for me. That's definitely how my day looks like at work every day. Now, some of you might be thinking, I'm pretty disciplined, I'm diligent about the food choices I make, and that doesn't really ring true for me, so let's talk about that for a second. Now remember, whenever cortisol goes up, it happens in response to stress, and that will raise sugar. You don't actually have to have eaten anything bad for your blood sugar to go up and for your insulin to go up. The other thing that insulin does is that it inhibits your body's ability to burn fat while enhancing your body's ability to store fat. So you don't need to have necessarily eaten anything that bad. Cortisol and insulin together, whenever they're chronically high, will insidiously break down muscle tissue and promote fat storage, which will change the body composition to have a higher fat mass and a lower lean body mass. That type of body composition, has a slower metabolic rate and just simply burns fewer calories. The other thing that chronically elevated insulin can do is that it can suppress thyroid hormone, and we know that thyroid hormone is responsible for keeping our metabolic rate up. So you can see how your hormones are sabotaging you. To bring this all into summary, chronically elevated levels of stress, even low-grade stress, will lead to chronically elevated stress hormones, which will create an internal environment that favors fat over lean body tissue. The goal here is to decrease the amount of time that we spend feeling stressed out and increase the amount of time that we feel relaxed. You can't be both stressed out and relaxed at the same time. It just doesn't happen. Whenever your body is in a state of relaxation, whenever you feel happy, that is when, and that is the only time that your body is able to repair and restore and undo the damage from your stressful day. Of course, most of us can't afford to spend hours and hours every day feeling relaxed and stressed, or stress-free and happy. Our reality just doesn't allow that to happen. But you can spend a few minutes a day, several times throughout the day, promoting this way of being. And it's not as difficult as you think. Simple, deep belly breathing will work faster than any pharmaceutical to make you feel relaxed. Breathing from the diaphragm in through your nose and out through your mouth. Take a couple minutes a few times throughout your day to do that, and you will bring on a state of relaxation. You'll lower those stress hormones and raise the chemicals that promote healing. Whatever it is that makes you happy, do more of it. Whether that's running or meditation, jogging, yoga, prayer, singing, crying, laughing, all of those things. Find a way to do more of it, not for extended periods at a time, but just more frequently throughout the day so that you can interrupt those stressful periods. Another goal is to set the stage for a more normalized and balanced cortisol and blood sugar. And you can do that right from the start, first thing in the morning. Have a high protein breakfast. High protein means eggs, nuts, yogurt without any added sugar, trail mix, nut butters. Those sort of things will help keep your blood sugar normal right off the start so that you don't even get on that blood sugar roller coaster to begin with. Having a high protein breakfast is like buying a ticket to the monorail, not the roller coaster. And you can have carbohydrates, especially high fiber carbohydrates later on throughout the day, but you really want to start your day with high protein. You'll see it really does a lot to stabilize your hunger, stabilize your mood, and stabilize all of it. And the other thing seems obvious, but reduce stress. Take inventory of all the things in your life that stress you out, and see if there's anything that you can eliminate. See if there's any changes that you can make. See if there's any places that you can ask for help. Remember that you're not doing anybody any favors by taking on too much. You're not helping anybody, and you are harming yourself. And at the end of it all, nobody ever looks back and wishes that they had taken on more stress. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much for listening.